All right. Hello, everyone. Chainsaw Man chapter 136 just dropped, and we are going to talk about it. Mm-mm. And I drew a little. This is a little picture of one stick person giving another stick person like touching their pee because that's kind of what happened in this chapter. Hopefully, it was conveyed. My art was conveyed through. Yeah. But anyways, to the more important part, which is to summarize the chapter. Unfortunately, not a whole lot happened this chapter. Denji gets in a fight with some classmates, and then he and Yoshida skip school to go watch a movie. And Yoshida sets him up with one of his classmates, quotation mark, and she starts touching his peepee in the theater, which is what you do when you're watching a movie. So pretty ordinary chapter, but one thing I do want to point out is that this chapter is the 39th chapter of part 2 of Chainsaw Man. And in part 1, the 39th chapter was actually the Makima movie date chapter. Let me pull up a screenshot of that. So Fujimoto is definitely conscious of the number of the chapters. Let me add a quick text to that. Chapter 39 of part 2. And I can just copy and paste that. Chapter 39, part 1. And while I'm at it, I might as well like add a screenshot of what they're looking at. The movie they were watching in part 1. So, So the difference in the movies that they're watching seems to be that in Makima's movie, it's two characters hugging and reuniting from what it looks like. Whereas in Denji and Yoshida's movie, it's two characters kind of seemingly in the disagreement. And instead of two adults, it's two kids. That's a screenshot of the tiny boy. Or I can't really make it fit. But anyways, we didn't really get to see more about the movie that Denji and Yoshida were watching, but I'm not sure if that's going to be relevant to the story in any way. But yeah, so that should be it about the movie. But more importantly is the girl that was touching Denji's pee, because the whole situation is kind of suspicious. So we're gonna take a look at some possibilities of what she could be. Hmm. So the setup was a bit. It has to be calculated, right? Because Denji and Yoshida happens to come across a theater that actually I'll get to the girl later. But Denji and Yoshida came across a theater that happens to be under devil attack. It was killed by another devil hunter. So Yoshida tries to use that opportunity to convince Denji that he is no longer needed in this world, which is not very accurate because just a couple chapters ago, well, it's been like 10 chapters, but Yoshida and Fami were just talking about the apocalypse. So, this specifically, the little note about the world ending without him, that's a lot of that's bullshit, basically. So Yoshida's trying to make Denji feel small. He is manipulating him in a different way. But anyways, Yoshida sets up the theater for them to be alone in, so that this girl can touch his pee freely without interruption. And before we get back to her, there's one scene that I liked. And it's this part where Denji asks Yoshida about what it feels like to be normal. And this is where I feel Fujimoto's where his dialogue really shines. Because Fujimoto, when he writes dialogue, he doesn't really write a whole lot of like quotable moments, right? But the way he writes dialogue is that the expressions of the characters kind of do the speaking more than what they're actually saying. So, and in this case, the pause here like just speaks a lot more than any dialogue box could be, because Yoshida, he wouldn't know what it's like to be normal either, because like at worst he is a teenage psycho devil hunter murderer person, right? And at worst he is, um some people theorize him to be like death. I don't really buy into that, but there's a lot of theories for what Yoshida could be, and most of them are a lot more dangerous than like a high schooler. So Denji asking Yoshida about what it's like to be normal is really kind of a redundant question because he wouldn't know either. And that's also kind of where the title of this chapter is coming from, because the title of this chapter is Normal Life, and Denji tries to like do his best again to live a normal life, like he did in kind of like a similar philosophy to what he was doing in part one, where but just as Denji don't really know what normal is like, Yoshida wouldn't know either. So he's kind of just doing things that they think are normal, like skipping school, like getting into fights, like watching movies and getting your pee pee touched in movie theaters. But yeah, so in part one, just like Makima watches movies to get a feeling of companionship. In this case, I think it's almost like Yoshida's also trying to feel normal. just like Denji is. But yeah, let's get back to this young lady here. Um, so as we went over earlier, Yoshida definitely set it up. It's doubtful that, she just really wanted to date Denji on her own, like Yoshida was saying. But let's look at some possibilities of what she could be. So the first option is that she is paid to touch Denji as squirt. So Yoshida paid her off to touch Denji's pee-pee and get intimate with him. And I feel that's the most logical answer. Another option is that Yoshida had her mind controlled to be close to Denji. I think that's also possible. Um, bu- 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 um, or maybe she just really has a crush on Denji. It could happen. Mm, ba ba ba. And last but not least is that she's a devil, which is what most readers so far seems to be thinking of. Of the four, I might be in the minority for this, but I don't think she's a devil. Because when she was introduced, right, Denji was giving a monologue to her, and she was just kind of sitting there silently and menacingly. So it's like the Fujimoto was setting an expectation for you to think of her as someone that's like dangerous, right? Let me pull up a screenshot of when she was doing that. Ba-ba-ba. So there were two panels of her just like sitting here while Denji is basically talking to himself. And the expectation here is that, as the chapter's coming to a close, she's gonna do something big to subvert the expectation of the reader, right? And so so I think what most people was thinking is that she's a devil and she's gonna do some shit to him. But the subversion comes in another way, in that she's just getting intimate with him. Subverted. So I think because Fujimoto did that, I don't think she's gonna be a devil. I think she might just be a regular human person. But I won't be too surprised if she is like a devil or other, spies, schemers kind of character. Because remember when we said that this chapter has like a lot of parallels to the Makima Theater chapter, which is not just in the content of the chapter, but also like the number of the chapter. And right after the Makima Theater chapter, Reze appeared. And so I think she could be like a Reze of part 2 in a way. When Reze showed up, I also thought that she wasn't going to be like a devil. I thought she was gonna be like a regular human being, but I was wrong. So I don't know. Take my predictions with a grain of salt. Let me see what else we can talk about. Ba ba ba. I guess that's about it for the girl. Because we don't really see anything else about her. She's just sitting there groping him menacingly. Let me see what else we can go over. Aside from the Yoshida theater scenes, there was a fight in the beginning. So some nerd came up to Denji, and for some reason he is very convinced that Asa, she's secretly like doing all the Chainsaw Man heroics. And it's been like a month since Asa's been doing her stuff. So I feel this guy is either really gullible or he's just like a what do you call it? Like an industry plant. Like the cult kind of sent him out to say a bunch of shit. Probably not, but I guess he's just gullible. But anyways, one of Denji's fans came up to defend Chainsaw Man's honor. And Denji ended up knocking him out because he punched him first. I don't think this part's important actually, but I don't know what else to talk about. I did mention last chapter that I feel the relationship between the cult, Chainsaw Man, and Mitaka was pretty confusing as far as what their motivation goes. Because, ideally, you would think that the cult want to make Denji as, popular as possible. But then they came up with the plan to have Mitaka take all the credit. So I don't really get it still. Let's see. So there was the beginning. I don't really think that's important. I guess that's about it for the chapter. But yeah, pretty short chapter. Yeah, I guess that's about it. Let me see if there's a chapter next week. There is one. So, alright, pretty cool. We're ending this early today. It doesn't really seem like there's much going on here.